Order Destiny Rise of Iron and get the Iron Gallarhorn.
Peter Brown.
Hey.
You review video games.
Yeah.
When you're not handing them off to Mike Mahardy, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This week you're reviewing, or have reviewed, a game called I Am Setsuna, which is a game I was calling I Am Satsuma.
So was Lucy James, apparently.
Do you notice, is Satsuma called something else here? Satsuma is a fruit. I think it's a large orange, if I'm right.
So it's called a pumpkin, Danny.
Okay, sorry, yes. I think maybe mandarin might be the word that's also used for satsumas. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, you are not reviewing a game about a small, delicious fruit. You're in fact reviewing a game which was an interesting one. This is Square Enix's studio they set up to make Square Enix-ass games, right?
I'm going to say no, only because Square Enix doesn't make games like this really anymore.
Right.
So they're making Squaresoft-like games.
Right, okay. Classic JRPGs in the sort of Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy.
I'm going to dial that back a little bit because if you think about it, Chrono Trigger is the first real Square Enix game.
Right.
Because it was a collaboration between the best of Final Fantasy devs and the best of Dragon Quest devs. So this is before Square Enix was a thing, but so maybe in some sense you're right there.
It's like the progenitor. Okay, technicality. I get away on it.
Yeah.
So this is them making games in that sort of classic sense, in the way that like lots of their other franchises have evolved, and that's just the natural way of things. What I sort of got from your review, what did it get? 7 out of 10 on GameSpot. You can get the review right now. Video review up as well on the site on YouTube. What I got from it is that it's quite derivative of sort of Square games. Is that to its benefit or not?
In a lot of ways, it's to its benefit because the source material is pretty strong. The things that it's pulling from are great things to reference, and the only time it becomes an issue is, I suppose, when those references, as someone who played games like Chrono Trigger and the other RPGs that were coming out around that time, you recognize it and it just takes you out of the moment of the game, and it's distracting one, and then it makes you feel cynical because you're like, oh, this is just a paint by numbers kind of thing for them.
Right.
It's not totally one-to-one, but there are so many elements that are like, yeah, I've seen this before. But at the same time, like it comes together for a game that is largely really enjoyable, and yes, makes me feel nostalgic in a good way as well.
So how does the combat work? Is it in the sort of classic Final Fantasy sense, or more Chrono Trigger-y?
It's almost exactly like Chrono Trigger. Essentially, there are no random encounters. You see enemies on the field. You bump into them. Everyone kind of like hops into position.
So you can avoid them if you want?
You can avoid them if you want. Like if they are looking one way or another, you can sneak behind them. So yeah, it's turn-based, although you can play in active mode or wait mode. Active mode lets the turn meter keep charging even when you're making a decision. Wait mode lets you take your time and think a little bit more rather than having to like make a decision before wasting a turn.
Can you choose to swap? Can you start the game on wait mode and then go into active mode?
You can swap at any time.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you can get used to it.
Yeah. And one of the other cool things is that characters can combine skills. So they may have, one character may have a heal attack, another one may have like a whirlwind attack kind of thing. And you can, if they're in your party and they both have those skills equipped, you can combine them and like heal your whole party with one big whirlwind rather than just one person. And that applies to offensive stuff as well. So there's a lot of depth to explore in terms of building your party and fitting out individual characters and then fitting out a team with those disparate parts and how they work together.
Excellent. What type of, like, how many characters are we talking about here? I'm guessing you're going out into the field and meeting people and adding them to your party and stuff?
Yeah, I want to say it's like 6 or 7.
Okay.
I don't have an exact number off the top of my head.
All right. Half a dozen, not a crazy amount.
Right.
Not a super long game either, right?
No, about 20 hours.
For a JRPG anyway. I mean, 20 hours is pretty good.
Right, yeah. And so the 20-hour thing is interesting because it does sort of like keep the pace up, which is good. But there are certain things that feel like they're worth further examination. Like a character who has a really big secret, he just kind of reveals it to you and he's like, let's just keep this between ourselves. And you're like, but wait, there's so much to talk about. Like, I want to know more. I want to know this and that. And it honestly never really has a resolution, one that's satisfying anyway. And there are even characters, like there's a guy with a scythe he's like a direct like recreation of Magus from Chrono Trigger. Who's this guy with a scythe who's kind of, he's evil, but he doesn't really get the same development as Magus. Like you don't get to understand him and his motivations. He kind of just appears and is like the perfunctory bad guy.
Right.
But a lot of the characters, what makes the story interesting is the characters themselves bring emotional baggage to the table. They don't necessarily develop it, which is too bad, but they all have something about them that is like kind of tragic, makes you sympathize with them a little bit.
Questions coming in from the chat. Jin Yasninster asking, what console is this for? What did you play it on?
I played it on PlayStation 4. It's also coming to Steam in North America and Europe.
Cool.
Japan got a Vita version. We are not getting that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
That's a shame.
But you can play it via remote play if you want.
God, I wonder why. This seems like the type of game that I actually would pick up on.
It's made in Unity. Check a box.
Yeah, right.
Publish it. It's already done. They just didn't. I don't know.
That's bizarre.
It is strange. Like why they would just omit that opportunity to make money.
It makes me worried that Sony aren't even pushing. I mean, it's Square Enix as well. You think that would be something they'd be like, look, we'll sort you out. Just like put this out on the Vita, please. It makes me think that Sony don't give a shit about the Vita anymore, basically, when I see things like that. I don't know. Sorry, Jake, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was wondering, what'd you think of the presentation, though? Because I came by your desk and you were playing, and I was like, oh, it looks beautiful. And you're like, yeah. Like, you didn't seem too excited. And then I was like, oh, all right, well, I thought it looks beautiful. And I started editing the review, and I noticed that the environments look really similar.
They're not 99% of the environments are Winterland, right?
Right.
Snowy forests, snowy towns, snowy fields. Occasionally you go into these sort of, I don't even like, maybe it's another dimension. It's just some sort of weird place that's dark and you can't really see much, and there are floating things, you assume. The rules of nature don't apply
Outland.
here. Yeah. I actually really like the art, and there are some scenes where the lighting and the composition, like framing the scene, work really well together. And I think, okay, someone behind this took the time to make sure that this was a special moment. But there are a lot of things that do just look kind of bland, unfortunately. But by and large, I think maybe I came around after I played the game some more, and I saw more of those things that were impressive. So I think it's a decent looking game, especially one that, like, it's a 3D game that's trying to mimic what a 2D game used to do, and I think it does that pretty well.
Cool. Out today?
Sure. I forget. I just remember embargoes these days.
I think it's out today.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, how do you feel about this game? Because I know that you like Japanese RPGs. Is this something that's been on your radar? Are you interested?
It has been on my radar because I thought it looked beautiful, to be honest. But then after editing the review, I'm not quite as excited as I was before. I think just because what I did edit, it looked a lot of like the same stuff. And like even the dungeon stuff that you did give me just felt very like, it just felt kind of out of place. But I mean, I'll still probably give it a try. And I think, and everyone's been talking about how great the music is too. I don't know what you thought of that, but that's kind of something I do want to.
That's a weird thing for me. I did really like the music. It's all piano.
Right.
Which over time it kind of drags you down a little bit. Like I love listening to piano arrangements of classic game soundtracks. It's a wonderful instrument. But for an entire game to be just one instrument is a bit much. The thing that really got me was some of the songs are so clearly riffing on Chrono Trigger music.
Really?
Where it's like the same chord progression, just a different tempo or different meter structure. Yeah, and like that's this kind of thing where I'm like, this is fucking lazy.
Right.
I cannot respect. I can say, yeah, it's beautiful, but I don't respect that song. I don't respect the artistry behind it.
It's a difficult line to sort of walk, right? To be like referential to the past without hamming it up too much. You think it kind of crosses over? It's a little bit too derivative.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this game is littered with things that if you've been playing Japanese RPGs for years, you will say, okay, that is Frog from Chrono Trigger. That is Auron from Final Fantasy X.
Right.
This is the plot from Final Fantasy X. It's Chrono Trigger's battle system. The random events from the Saga Frontier games that occur during battle. All these things just, kind of coalesce into a thing that's just super referential.
Yeah.
The few times it does stand out, though, I did feel like the game has an identity of its own. I would just love to see them take all this knowledge and expertise, making it a classic RPG, but doing something totally original with it. Not just trying to say, hey, guys, fans, I know what you like. You've been asking for it for years. Here it is. Like, stop complaining. Like, okay, but you have to take it the next step.
Yeah. You can't just be that.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to be talking about this game in 20 years.
Right.
Like we talk about Chrono Trigger now.
But a fun game to play, nonetheless?
Yes, I think people should play it. I mean, a 7 is an endorsement in my book. It's good out of 10, not really 7 out of 10. I mean, that's the way I like to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Out today on PlayStation 4, I guess. No Vita version for us yet.
The Steam version should be out today as well.
Okay, Steam as well. Yeah, pick it up there if you want. $13,999 as I checked. Might be a bit cheaper on Steam on launch day. That sometimes happens. Go check it out. Thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah, appreciate it.